Back in the days when I used to have a part-time job with the United Nations, I once found myself dining with everyone's favourite kooky North Korean despot, Kim Jong-un. I say it was the UN job, but it actually could have been when I was doing the Saturday job for the butchers, because I have a dim memory of arriving with some pork chops, but I may be confusing it with Pol Pot's pork chop pool party, where admission was denied without a prime cut of meat. Anyway, back to Kim. After we'd finished the baked Alaska, which he made repeated oblique remarks about being an ambition rather than just a dessert, I offered to share my recipe with him. As we strolled through to the lounge, I waxed lyrical about the appropriate sponge thickness required to provide adequate insulation for the frozen dairy core. Kim seemed to drift off and appeared disinterested, so I attempted to liven the afternoon by suggesting he should perform a rendition of his global hit, Gangnam Style. This, I found, was a mistake. A simple bit of confused identity, and the porty monocrat bristled furiously, whilst his military aides went for their firearms. I was swiftly bundled away to a prison in the foothills of some mountains. On arrival, I was unaware I was actually sharing a cell for the first 2 days, until I tripped over a shivering huddle in the corner. Well, imagine my surprise to find myself banged up with no less than Feli and her Belgian Svengali, Mr. Technotronic. Of course, this explained their absence from the charts for well over 2 decades. They began to tell me a lamentable story of their 1991 tour of the Far East, whereupon one day they accidentally pumped the jam a little too far. It transpires that jam pumping isn't as easy as it first looks. Indeed, whilst one's feet are stomping, and as long as the crowd keep jumping, then the jam can be comfortably pumped without compunction. However, there is a limit. One night in Seoul, the crowd was jumping for all it's worth. So, following their own advice, they pumped the jam a little more to get the party going on the dance floor. At this point, the jam had reached the maximum to which it could be pumped, but unfortunately, the safety valve was broken. Unaware of the potential catastrophe ahead, Mr. Technotronic continued to follow the advice of Feli, who was advocating, and I quote, "Pump up the jam, pump it up, yo pump it, over and over again." Once the jam reached a critical mass, carnage ensued. A torrent of jam spewed forth over the demilitarized zone. The 38th parallel was deluged in a sticky strawberry sweetness. Tension within the region reached boiling point, which of course is only marginally below the 105 degrees Celsius required for jam to set. As Feli and Mr. Technotronic tried to escape, the enraged lynch mobs caught them and turned them over to the communists in the north as a means to avert nuclear war. It worked, but here we are now. Life hasn't been so bad in prison, but the food is really uninspiring. Jam for breakfast, jam for lunch, and jam for tea. It could even be jam tomorrow. So, if I could appeal to your better nature, dear listener, I really would appreciate a food parcel. I have contacts in the Home Office, so if you could just pile up some tins of biscuits outside the North Korean embassy, that would be appreciated. Or alternatively, campaign for a better room for me. I can see the C&C Music Factory down the corridor, and I'm pretty sure they've got an ensuite.